Welcome to the Let Me Be Free podcast. My name is Jackie.
And my name is Alwyn.
We're two sisters from Ireland living in Australia, navigating our healing journeys together. And this is our podcast, Let Me Be Free. Welcome to the Let Me Be Free podcast. Today I am going to do a soundbite episode on some hacks I use when applying for therapists. So the first thing I do is open Google Maps and type in therapist, psychologists near me. And I get a list of all the people in my area. Then I open my emails and I create an email where the to is to me and then the BCC is to all of the email addresses of the therapists in my area. So the reason I don't put it in the to is because if you put in all of the email addresses, they'll see that you've just emailed like 20 different therapists at one time. So I just put that in the BCC, their email addresses, so that they can't see. All they see is that you've emailed them. Then I go on to BetterHelp.com. This is not an ad for BetterHelp. I just use their question part. And basically there's a number of questions that they ask when you go to onto their website. And it's kind of like, do you experience anxiety or this, or are you having trouble with work, or blah blah blah. And essentially I just answer those questions, but I put the answers into my email in bullet point format. And then at the very top of that email I write two very important questions. And the first one is, do you have availability for new clients? And the second question is, what is your pricing? So I send that off. Basically it's going to look like from Jackie to Jackie and then BCC, all of these email addresses for therapists. And then it's going to say, hi, just wondering if you have availability for any new clients. And if yes, what is your pricing? Here's a little bit about me. And then it's just bullet points of the answers from the questions on BetterHelp.com. And thank you, Jackie. Then if I get replies that say, yes, I have some availability right now, this is my pricing, and I think, okay, cool. So then I look up any information about those people. Maybe they have a website, maybe they have a social media, maybe they have a blog, maybe they've been on a podcast episode. So basically I just look for ways to find out what kind of therapist they are, what they do. Generally on their website they're going to have things listed like what modalities they use, what areas of specialties they work with, it'll give basically a bit about them. It'll give if they're a licensed therapist, if they're registered with a organization, if they have a degree or something like that, that will be listed on there. So that will give you some idea of who they are. And if I don't understand what modalities or what they've written, for example, if they write, I do CBT therapy. So if I don't know what that is, I just go onto YouTube and I go examples of CBT therapy. If they write IFS therapy, I go onto YouTube and I write examples of IFS therapy. And that just gives me an idea of whether they're a therapist who likes to go deep and get into the deep stuff, or if they're a therapist who just kind of do this surface level stuff. And then areas of specialty, they might list PTSD or working with teenagers or working with people with depression. So that gives me a bit of an idea as well of what areas they kind of specialize in. And then I shortlist all of those people. Let's say 6 get back out of the 20 to say that they have availability, and maybe 3 of them are people who I think, yeah, I could see myself working with this person. Then I send those 3 an email, and I give them a little bit more information about my personal circumstances, and I just say, are you available for a meet and greet? Which is basically my way of saying, will you do a free session so I can kind of talk to you and get to know you? Because the reality is I'll know within 5 minutes of talking to someone if I'm suited to them. And so sometimes they'll do like a meet and greet over the phone, or sometimes they'll say, yeah, come on in and have a chat on this day or whatever. So that's one of the ways that I do it. Now, another thing we're considering is online therapy. Like, I really love online therapy, and there's a few reasons for that. One is I am always on the go. So I might be on my property, so I'll do a session from here. I might be up at my sister's in Perth, and so I might do my session from there. I might be up at work, which is, in the middle of outback Australia, so I have the opportunity to do from there if I want. I might be on a camping trip, and I literally just hop into my car, drive to somewhere quiet where I can get phone connection, and I do it from there. Like, I've done so many of my therapy sessions in my car, and it just means that, there's a lot more options. It doesn't mean I have to be in one place. The other great thing about it is sometimes the time zones work really well. Like, I know people who want a session with their therapist after they've put their kids to bed. So they want it at like 10 p.m. at night. And in their time zone, they're very unlikely to find a therapist who's going to work at that time. But for example, let's say in New York, if it's 10 p.m. at night, in Western Australia, that's morning time. So it means that time zones can work very well for you. Like, Alwyn likes to do her therapy sessions super early before the kids get up. So the kids sometimes will get up at 5 a.m. So she'll do her sessions at 4 a.m. And so she can find someone in a time zone that will work for her with that. The other reason I really like the option of online therapy is, like, if there's specific modalities that you want to work with. Like, for example, with me, I really only want to do talk therapy with someone who's trained in internal family systems therapy. So and there's only 2 people listed in Western Australia as trained in internal family systems therapy, and luckily the psychologist that I have is one of those people. But before I found her, I just went on to BetterHelp, and I just specifically asked for someone who was trained in internal family systems therapy, and they had I think 3 or 4 people, and so I would have just emailed all of them to find out, like, will their time zone work with me, and like, I would have used that. It's a great way when you're looking for something very specific. Like, in other ways, I went onto the Internal Family Systems website to find a therapist, and they have all of their therapists listed there. I just found a time zone that worked for me, and then I looked for therapists in those countries. So yeah, like, there are so many ways that online therapy can be really great, and a lot of times, not always, for sure not always, but there are quite a few times where online therapy is the cheaper option. So I just thought I'd put that out there. So those are my hacks for applying for a therapist. Please share your hacks on the Let Me Be Free Facebook page or under the YouTube video, so that other people can benefit from your ideas as well. And yeah, have a lovely day. Thanks so much for tuning in today, guys. All the links to the information we discussed in this episode will be in the show notes, including timestamps where we change topics, so if you want to come back later and just listen to one section, you can. If you haven't done so already, please join our Facebook group, Let Me Be Free, The Wounded Inner Child, and post either anonymously or not what's going on for you in your world. We'd also be delighted if you would share this podcast or the Facebook group with one person who you think would benefit from the information. Be along, Mahaguf. Have a beautiful day.